Well, welcome to Wimberley on Main Street. I'm here with Mary from the Picket Fence gift shop here in Mount Vernon, New Hampshire. Hi, Mary. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm so glad that you could do this with me today.
Thank you for asking.
And we had a nice day, and that's really fantastic.
It's beautiful.
You've been doing this for how many years?
It'll be 29 years this year, 30 next year.
And you started in Francistown.
I started in Francistown in 1996, the year
Wow.
my first son was born.
Wow. Yep. Wow. No, that's fantastic. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got started? And
I got started, well, why I got started?
Why is good? Why?
When I was a kid, back when I lived in Wappingers Falls, New York, on my road growing up, there was a woman who had a beautiful colonial house. And she had a store, but it was seasonal. It was, again, 2 weekends where she would open her home.
Yeah.
And this was a mansion. And she used to have a greenhouse in the back where she'd dry all her own flowers and all this stuff.
Oh,
and then
wow.
she would make holiday wreaths for the season. And she always had these amazing urns, and she would just put all these things together and make her house just look like one big store. And she'd invite everybody in. And she named it Swan Landing, so we would walk through the door, and she'd have the music playing, she'd have food in the kitchen for people, and then she would have every room in that house decorated differently.
Oh, wow.
So she had like a bridal room, she had a floral room, she had a Christmas room, but there was a little bit of Thanksgiving and Christmas all throughout the house.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I want to do that someday.
Yes.
So when I had my own home in Francistown, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. Let's do that. So I did.
I remember going.
Yeah. I don't know how the family was about me emptying all the rooms out, but yeah, every Thanksgiving they were like, oh, here it goes. The dining room would get filled with stuff, the kitchen, everything.
Oh, but that's great.
Yeah.
Around the holidays, nostalgia.
And at that time, it was just me doing it, all the crafts in there and trying to fill the house by myself. And then our chocolatier that's still here today. So 29 years.
Wow.
Seconds Please Chocolates has been with me going through all this.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're crazy.
Well, so, hey, it takes a little bit of crazy to do some of these things.
It's fun.
Can you share a little bit of the story of how you went from Francistown, starting out, and then now you're in Mount Vernon, near the center?
Yeah, so I got divorced in Francistown, but I had moved with my two boys here. We found this house, and I fell in love with the barn, and I thought that would be a really cool place for my shop. But again, having gone through a lot of that, I was exhausted. I wasn't sure I had the energy to do it at the time, or I want to be home for two children, so they were young, 4 and 7 years old. So my girlfriend Leslie, thank God, she pushed me and she said, we have to open, because if we don't, people are going to forget you're there.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay. So we picked our 2 weekends, and I did the best because it didn't look like this back then. It was very cold. There was no heat. There was no insulation. There was no sheetrock. There was not much of anything. And I remember putting a big curtain across this way. We just had this little section here. And I had a salamander propane heater shooting off every 10 minutes, sound like the space shuttle taking off. Our eyes were burning from the propane.
Right.
But people still came.
That's great.
And it was wonderful. It was we had a really good time. It was cold, but we made it through 2 weekends, and then it grew from there.
That's fantastic. And how many vendors do you have now?
About 25.
Wow.
Yeah, we had
From 2 to 25.
Yeah, we had about 35 at one point. It just got too much, so we kind of fine-tuned. Everybody works together. We all have unique products that you're not going to find other places.
Right.
And we all work really hard to come up with our own original stuff, so that when people walk in here, they're not going, oh, the same old, same old.
Right.
They know they're going to find something
I found
different.
that on Amazon.
Yeah, they're not going to find anything on Amazon.
maybe tell me a little bit of details of the process that goes into, say, the ornaments you make from wool, or even some of the wooden partial.
Absolutely. So, well, my mom and I, she passed recently, but we used to get on the phone probably, I don't know, maybe every time we talked. And she always would have something like, you know what, Mary, this year you should make a little mouse, and the little mouse should go do. But she would come up with ideas and just throw things out there, and then it just she would say would trigger, you know what I should do?
Right.
maybe instead let's do that, So ideas would come from
Yeah.
just brainstorming and just having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Coming up with things. And sometimes I'll see something silly. I'll go to a farm, see some silly animal and be like, oh my gosh, that would make a great ornament.
A great ornament.
Or if it doesn't make you laugh,
Yep.
it wasn't a good ornament. It had to make you laugh.
That's
So there's so many different ways you can make
Absolutely.
an animal.
Absolutely.
Be
Yes.
silly,
And tell me about the time it takes to put some of these homemade gifts into.
I think that's what's most deceptive for people. I think they come in here and they think, oh, you can just whip that out because it's art. But it takes time. It really, really does. I mean, I'm sure there's some crafters that can do crafts that are a little easier or faster to put together. But when you're working with wood or with wool, like what I do, the wood process is difficult. One, I do my sketch. I have to do my drawing. My background is graphic design and illustration, so I've been an illustrator my whole life. So I would illustrate my design, and then from that I would snip it out, trace it onto the wood, cut it out of the wood, sand the wood, prime the wood, paint the wood. Sometimes it would stain because you have to have the back look just as pretty as the front.
Right.
And then from there you're embellishing. So sometimes it's three-dimensional paint, sometimes it's glitter, or you got your eye hooks to put in there, your ribbons. You got to make sure you tag it, you got to price it, get it out onto the store.
And you're not making just one.
No, and then you're making between, and I do small batches, thank goodness.
Yes.
Like the wool, I could start with an animal, and the prototype might take me a day.
Right.
And then from there, I might get 12 done in a week. And that's pushing it right up to the edge where Friday I'm opening, I better get them on the tree.
Right.
So there's definitely that process of building it, but then making sure you price it and you tag it and you put the ribbons, the embellishments.
It's a lot.
It's a
I mean,
lot.
looking at them, you can tell that
It's a
you
lot.
take all in consideration all the details.
It's fun.
It's
You
just,
got to bake the body parts.
well, you got to pick the
Got to
body
bake the body parts because I hand do all the body parts.
Yes.
Noses, eyeballs,
Oh my
right?
goodness, yes. And I know I've had, I think, coming when you were in Francistown, the ornaments I have, they are still look as good as they did,
Aw.
whatever, 20 some years ago.
I'm so glad. That's good.
Yeah.
Whew.
My kids took them to their house and now they're on their tree. So
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love
no,
it. I love
it's-
that people are starting to collect
Yes.
what I do. It makes me happy. So, but then again, every year you got to come up with new stuff.
Well,
And sometimes you
pressure.
can, the pressure.
The pressure,
It's funny. I always worry, oh my gosh, am I going to run out of ideas? What happens if I just can't?
right.
But
Someone will come up with
knock
an
wood,
idea for
knock
you.
wood,
Yeah.
that hasn't happened. It's been
Right,
good.
yeah, exactly.
I know I'm going to miss my mom. Oh,
Right, yeah.
She was so good for that.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit, maybe, if there were any mentors or challenges that you willing to share with everybody as you went through the years?
I mean, other than the woman who owned Swan Landings in my town growing up, I never talked to her about business, though. I've always had people that motivated me, that told me not to ever stop doing art. My first art teacher, Helen Wajaka, she was like, if you ever stop drawing, she was going to strangle me. My art teachers at school used to say the same thing. But as far as doing the business, no. I didn't really have anybody. I don't really think anybody was really doing what I was trying to do. And it was important for me to be a success because I had two little boys that I wanted to be home for. I didn't want to miss anything. So yeah, I really had to kind of trip and fall on my face a couple of times and try new things and see what worked. But I think when you have a very supportive community, and they've all been, whether it was Francistown or here, and even being here just 8 miles down the road, everybody from Francistown still comes here and still supports. And the town here has been wonderful.
Yeah,
it's been really good. But no, by the time I went to New Hampshire Business, they have a business center, I had already gotten myself to this point. So, yeah.
So you went off your vision.
I went off a vision.
Not
I
necessarily.
I knew where I wanted to be. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. How about getting there? Well, that was trial and error, definitely. But fortunately, there was a lot more fun trial that worked.
Right.
And I think it's just, it was just the support and encouragement of my kids too.
Right.
They loved it. They helped me hang lights. They loved the smell of sawdust and polyurethane. They're like, it's Christmas. I smell polyurethane and sawdust.
Well, that's
Mom's
good.
working.
Right.
So it's been
Well,
good.
that's fun for the kids too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure they helped with the ideas when they were young, maybe.
Oh, they sure did.
Yeah.
They would come out with some funny ones.
Yeah, I
How
bet.
about a platypus, Mom?
Oh, yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Do that. Sure.
Oh, that's good. Well, that's good. And
Gotta have a Christmas platypus.
well, who doesn't? Well, excellent. No, that's wonderful. Well, now, As far as you mentioned, I think when we were talking about New Hampshire made, and tell us a story about how maybe that kind of maybe it was a point where it helped you grow a little bit
Oh,
for
absolutely.
customers.
So I was just 2 weekends a year for from 1996 to probably 2007.
Right.
New Hampshire Made was a marketing company that was created. Anne was the local woman that was in our area, but she's the one who had reached out to me originally to be part of New Hampshire Made.
Yeah.
And I did. It was wonderful. They started an annual tour called New Hampshire Open Doors. And that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
That's fantastic.
So I decided on one of my weekends, because again, I was only open 2 weekends a year, I would open my shop and be part of that. So you paid a small fee, but that fee covered your promotional stuff. It even covered road signs and posters and postcards and anything you needed to, do mailing lists, which is what I originally used to do. I used to hand invitation. I would hand invitations to everybody, right?
Yeah.
And start a mailing list. But as things go on, mailing starts to get a little expensive.
Right.
So what New Hampshire Made did was they advertised on every outlet that was in existence at that time.
Right. Yeah.
And people would come in droves.
Yeah.
And one year, the head of the marketing department and Anne came into my shop and said, "You need to make this a store." And I was like, "No, 2 weekends a year is really good. I'm so tired." And they're like, "No, you need to make this a store." And that's when I started. People would come through the door, but a lot of times not just customers, but people would say, "I make something. Would you be willing to see it and see if you would sell it in your store?"
Yeah.
So from there, I started helping other people that didn't have the confidence to get out and say, "My stuff is good. It's worth selling." And help them, whether I had to help them design a logo or help them get just started with the business, or just give them the encouragement to know that they were good enough to sell their stuff.
Right.
So we've started quite a few businesses in here.
That's really
just
great.
Giving women and men.
Yeah, you became the mentor for other people.
I think I might have.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Because why have other people trip and fall on their face if I've already been there, made those mistakes, or figured out how to avoid the mistakes? I can always pass that on to somebody else that have to do it.
So, and essentially, I mean, you had your idea and had your vision, and it was so good, and you were so talented. Basically, your customers and your clients helped you.
They
kept pushing you. We'll say that.
Me. Yep.
You will not stop.
I will not stop. They won't let me.
Well, that's a good sign.
Okay.
You know you're doing it right then.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
No, I love this story.
And my family gives me great encouragement. My husband today now, and my boys. Oh my gosh, they're my biggest cheerleaders.
Oh,
really
well, those are the ones to have. Excellent. No, that's really good. Can you talk about any valuable lessons you learned maybe through the years?
There's going to be a lot of people that are going to try to give you advice. And I think a lot of people that aren't kind of in the same place that you are now or wish to go, maybe don't listen to their advice, because if they don't have those kind of dreams and they just want to be here, if you want to grow and learn and do more and be better, you need to listen to the people that encourage you to do more and be better and are maybe in that same place or above you. Like they're doing things that you are scared to do. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to be afraid. But keep going.
Yeah.
And,
trust yourself.
Because there's going to be a lot more people that tell you to quit than there are people to tell you you can do this. Keep going. Keep going. You got to.
That's really good advice.
Tune them out and you keep going forward.
Yeah. That's really good advice. Yeah. Anything that maybe you had done differently than maybe a little outside of what a lot of shops do? Is there something that you can
I think
talk about that?
We make things personal here.
Yes.
It's very personal.
Yeah.
We have a ton of repeat customers every year, but they become your friends. I think that's the beauty of small community and business and small communities and small businesses.
Yeah.
You really get to know people.
Right.
And then it just becomes personal. You want to make things special for them because you know who's going to be walking through that door.
Right.
And you always get new people.
Yeah.
I think just welcoming people and just truly, genuinely wanting people to come to your store. And I don't know, just adding, I think just making things personal,
Yeah.
I guess.
Is that one of the things that you like, having your own business? One of
Yeah.
the biggest perks maybe is meeting.
Absolutely.
people.
I mean, other than being home for your family, because you can make your hours. Granted, it's a lot more hours than I think people realize.
Right.
They say, owning your own company, there's definitely freedom, but there's also a bit of a cost. Not negatively, really.
Right.
It's just, when there's a lot that you have to do and orders you have to do,
Right.
people can be very patient, but you want to make sure that you don't,
Right.
the older we get, the longer
Right.
it takes to do.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, we always get it done. But it's
Yes.
know your
Yeah.
limitations too.
Exactly.
And being able to say no once in a while. But you are a store. You are there to serve, so you want to make sure that you don't say no too often and try to get things done. But let people always be honest, be realistic about time frames and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did I go off topic?
Yeah.
I
No, I
probably
think
did.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any goals and aspirations that you want to talk about for the store, or other than keep going? We want you to keep going.
I wanna. What do I want to do? More Christmas trees. No, I think if I put another one in here, my husband's gonna shoot me. But I guess I just wanna. I want to keep going. I want to keep creating unique, original things.
Right.
I
They've never been really the same.
No, nothing's
to year.
ever
No.
been the same, unless somebody wants me to repeat something. Absolutely. But yeah, I just want to keep creating the new and unique things and making sure that the vendors in here, do the same, which they all have in this shop. I really love. I mean, we do have some things that we do repeat, because if something sells really well,
Right.
other people are going to want to do it too. So you don't want it to just disappear. But I think,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other goals. People keep wanting me to get on Etsy and have a site that connects to the shop. That is something I am considering doing.
Yeah.
But again, there's only one of me, so it's tough if I'm manning a shop in Etsy and then trying to load here too.
Right.
So you have to just be realistic about your time and how much energy you have to do what you need to do.
And as far as with marketing and getting, the shop out there, pretty social media, New Hampshire Made, would you say?
New
your
Hampshire
main...
Made was wonderful for things like that. But recently it's mostly just been Facebook and Instagram.
And word of mouth.
And word of mouth. And that's really brought in lots of people.
Yeah.
Lots of views. Definitely you get over 2,000 views on things. You get, well, first time that happened, I almost fell over, but that's social media. I just need to understand it more and get a little more professional at it.
Right. Hey, you're doing
I'm working on it. It's getting there.
Is there something I think you shared a little bit of the story, but willing to share that maybe not many people know about you, your shop, the business, that kind of thing with your mom, or is that?
Just my mom and just the conversations we had. I'm going to miss them so much, because she really inspired. My dad was always in the background. He was always my biggest cheerleader, but my mom as well. But just getting on the phone and being able to brainstorm with her and hash out ideas and, come up with silly new things, and just, I'm going to miss that. But that was a big part of things that I don't think people, knew that I start planning for this I take January off. I'm pretty much in a coma by then. But February, I start sketching again. It's, and the shop, a lot of the stuff comes from sketching. Like I said, I was an illustrator to start. Yeah. And I used to work as a computer illustrator for a gaming company. Oh. Yeah, in New York. And it was a lot of fun. And then on the side, I used to work for a company called Paperclip Graphics in Poughkeepsie, New York. And we used to deal with companies in Paris and all sorts of big, things that I get to draw for and design for. But I wanted to be a greeting card illustrator to start, and I did do that. Yes. I did do some designs for recycled paper greetings. I did have Hallmark touch on me a little bit, but I never went that route. I didn't. Right. But I wanted my own designs and I wanted my own things, and I think from there my illustrations then became ornaments. Yeah. And that's how it all got started, really. From the greeting cards, turning those little characters into ornaments, and then
that's fantastic.
Things went crazy from there.
Yes, yeah. No, a good kind of crazy, yeah. And that's kind of the good thing about having your own small business is that you can just follow your own ebbs and flows and
Yeah, because if I
your own
want to
vision.
illustrate something again, I can go ahead and do that and
Yeah.
sell it in the shop if I want to, or if I want to turn that illustration into something three-dimensional, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, have fun with it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's a fantastic shop.
Thank you.
And I know I come here
I'm glad.
every season. And
Yeah,
I
you
really-
made me go back to clay.
That's right, I sure did. I'm like, oh, how about that one? Yes, a special order.
But that's
Sorry.
okay. No, I love it. So now I got to do more of them, and it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. We
Well,
might start
I-
a whole new line of something.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yes. And well, Mary, I really appreciate your time
Thank you
this
for
morning.
asking
and
me. This was really nice.
Yes,
It's
and
fun.
you will all want to visit the Picket Fence gift shop in Mount Vernon for
It's
sure.
fun. And there's food sometimes.
Right.
I can bribe you.
That's right.
There's chocolate.
Oh, woohoo! Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.